Have you ever wondered what it's like to work in law enforcement? Here on Behind the Star, we share stories about the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida's largest law enforcement agency. From forensics to dispatch to the deputies on patrol, we'll talk to the brave men and women who protect our community. This is Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Behind the Star. I am your host, John Busdecker, the official storyteller here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And thanks again for listening to our official podcast. We're off to a great start. We've been doing this about a month now. And I want to thank everybody for sending in their questions and their comments. And we really enjoy doing this. And I don't know about you guys, but I've learned a lot so far about the Sheriff's Office that I didn't know. And so if you got any questions or maybe somebody you think we should chat with, send us a note and we'll try to track them down and go talk with them. So today I'm actually really excited about this because I don't know if everybody kind of knows how our deputies come to be deputies here at the Sheriff's Office. And so I have somebody here who has some knowledge of that. It's Sergeant Stephen Harrelson. He's a field recruiter here at the Sheriff's Office, and we're chatting with him today. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well. How
Can
about
I call
yourself?
you Steve or Steven?
Either way.
All right. So why don't you tell me what exactly do you do? Tell me about recruiting.
Right now, I am the sergeant over three individuals, and we all do recruiting out in the field, looking for deputy positions and civilian positions as well.
So when you say looking for them, where do you go looking for deputies? Do they come to us? Do you go to them? Is it a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. We do quite a bit of job fairs around the Southeast United States, whether they're at colleges, universities, out in the public, could be at military bases, things of that sort.
So when you say you go out and look, so you go to like a job recruiting fair, you set up, you show them maybe a picture of Orange County or some of our deputies or maybe some video, and you try to just get them to come here and apply?
Yeah, we do a lot of just social interacting between face-to-face, just speaking with people, just trying to get a good idea of who they are, what they're looking for, and just giving them all the tidbit of information about the Orange County Sheriff's Office that separates us from other agencies.
So what separates us from other agencies? Like what's sort of the pitch that you do when somebody comes to see you?
Well, the pitch that we're using right now is we're the largest agency in Central Florida with 1,600 sworn deputies, which allows you to move around the agency and develop your career and which way you want to do it. So you're not what we call a one-trick pony where you're only in patrol for 20 years or whatever it is. You can move around the agency at will pretty much after you do your 2 years in patrol, and you get to experience a lot of different avenues that other agencies just can't provide just based on their size.
So when somebody comes to a job fair, we'll stick to that. Like you said, there's about 1,600 deputies that we have.
Correct.
How many do we need? We always need deputies.
We're always needing deputies through attrition and new positions being granted by the county commission. So we're looking over 100 deputies at this point.
Okay, all right. And so if I were to come up to you and I say, I want to be a deputy here at Orange County, I'm sold. This is where I want to work. So what do you do next? Like, what's the next step?
Next step is, obviously, we would sit there and have a conversation about what they're looking for in an agency. Sometimes a larger agency is not quite what they're looking for. So then we kind of gear them towards maybe going to a smaller agency. From there, then we just talk about how to apply. All of our applications are done online through our website at ocso.com. And then on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see jobs or careers. Click on that, and then you find there'll be multiple postings for the different positions that we have available, whether they're civilian position or different types of law enforcement positions.
So when you're recruiting, do you only recruit for deputies, or is it also civilian positions?
Both.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I didn't know that. I guess I thought it was just deputies you guys were looking for.
Mainly we recruit for deputy positions, but we do when jobs, civilian positions become available, we do recruit for those in the field as well.
So let's stay to the deputy side right now. So
Okay.
let's say I come up, I say I want to be a deputy. You say, all right, you seem like a good fit, and I have to go apply online then.
That's correct.
Okay, and then after that, let's say it gets through. What's next? Like, what's the process like? Maybe just talk about that.
So the process after application is your file or your application will be reviewed by an actual human being. So every application for deputy positions gets reviewed to make sure that you meet all the minimum requirements. From there,
What are those? What are the minimum requirements?
well, they just recently changed.
Okay.
So now their minimum requirements are you have to be at least 21 years old. You have to have at least a high school diploma or a GED. You need no drug use, no marijuana use in the last 2 years, any other drug the last 3 years, no DUIs in the last 5 years. Your driving history is a case-by-case basis. No tattoos on your head, neck, and face,
Okay.
and a good work
That's
history.
not too much to ask, I feel like.
No, not at all.
Is it difficult to find deputies or people that fit all those requirements? Or?
No, it's not difficult. It was before because we used to have a 60 college credit prior to the recent change.
Is that the main change, that it went down to a high school diploma?
It did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in the driving history, before you couldn't have more than 2 moving violations in the last 3 years. So right now, we're just going to work on a case-by-case basis on driving.
Right. So if you have a few speeding tickets, it's still okay. At least apply. Don't feel like that's going to kick you out of the
Right.
running.
Yes, exactly. It just opens the door for a few more people, professional people. Whether you're a plumber, electrician, you always thought you wanted to be the police, or a deputy, that opens a way for you to kind of come in the door that way.
So military bases, it sounds like your office goes there to recruit often. Well, what's the reasoning behind that?
Well, most military bases either have some sort of military police or security forces. So we try to go in and look for those individuals that are already in the policing business. So it's a natural transition over into the civilian world.
So let's go back to how you ended up here at the agency. You've been here roughly 18, 20 years, right?
That's correct.
And you've been in recruiting too.
Correct.
How did you become a law enforcement officer?
I never thought I wanted to do in law enforcement. It never crossed my mind until I got into college. I'm not very good at math.
That's all right. I'm not very good at math either.
And I took 1 or 2 courses in criminal justice and the criminology side of things, and I'm like, this is really interesting. And my dad being former law enforcement, I talked to him, and I've grown up in this agency. There were plenty of people I went and spoke to that were friends of his that geared me to come into this agency, and that's pretty much how I ended up here.
How long did your dad work here?
31 years.
Oh, wow.
31
Did you
yes.
ever get a chance to work with him?
1.5 years, my first year and a half, yes.
All right, that's really cool.
It was cool.
And I think you said your wife is also a deputy?
She is. She's a sergeant. She's been here for about 12, 13 years, and she works in patrol as a sergeant, yeah.
Nice. And you have kids,
We do. We have 2.
and you don't know if they're going to be deputies yet.
I don't know. They don't really talk about it yet, but I can see at least one of them doing it.
All right, all right.
Absolutely.
All right, so back to the recruiting. When you're going out and you're looking for people to do this job, I mean, is there something you're looking for, something specific, or can it really be kind of anybody?
It can be just about anybody. For us, there is no max age. There is no standard of how you look, height, weight, anything like that. For us, it's can you handle yourself? Are you capable of doing this job mentally? Because it takes a strong-willed individual to do this.
Definitely.
Especially in today's climate. It has changed since I started here. So we're not looking for just one individual type or one look. Obviously, you need to be in good physical condition just because of the stress and the nature of the job.
Yeah, but like age range, can you be? I'm 36, and I could apply. I assume I've never worked in law enforcement.
Sure,
but I could
absolutely.
apply. All right.
Yeah, we currently have 2 50-year-old, 50-plus that are looking to get sponsored by our agency to go to this academy starting in September.
Because I think that's what people think. They think, oh, you're 18, 19, 20, 21. You apply to be a deputy, you get hired, and you do it for 35 years, then you retire. And I'm sure a lot of people do that. But I'm sure there's also people that, maybe they had a career and they're maybe not happy with that career and they want to start something new. And they can, as long as they're in, good shape and they pass everything, you can start a career here in your 30s, 40s, 50s.
Absolutely.
Just like somebody who's doing it out of high school or college.
Oh, without a doubt. It's a rewarding career. A lot of people tell me, I've always wanted to do this. I just, for whatever reason, one reason or another, they just never pulled the trigger on it. And then they just decided one day, you know what? I'm going to go ahead after my dream and do it. And they could be 45 years old.
Yeah.
You bring more life experience than others.
And I think there are a lot of jobs that are like that. But you're right. For this job, it's the same way.
Right. And, not to say that a 21-year-old kid straight out of college cannot do this job, because that's the majority of the people that do apply with us. It's a 21-year-old person does not have the life experience of a 45-year-old.
Definitely not.
And everyone has something positive to bring to the table.
Mm.
It's just finding out what that is that you can bring to our agency is what we're looking for.
So earlier you said something about sponsorship. Explain what that is.
Sponsorship simply is you do your application, you go through our process, and we hire you. We're going to put you through the academy, which means the sheriff is going to pay all your academy expenses.
Which isn't cheap.
No, it's about anywhere between $3,000 and $4,000, depending on which academy you go to.
And a lot of them go to Valencia.
Yes, we send all of our sponsors to Valencia. That's correct.
And that's a long process. It's not like you just go for a week. I mean, it takes months and months.
Yeah, it's a 5-month, 20-week extensive program, physically and academically. It's always been voted one of the better ones in the state of Florida, if not number one.
Okay. All right. And so when, like you said, you sponsor them, that means we sort of pay their way through.
Correct.
Hoping and knowing that at the end of it, they're going to come work here.
That's correct. And then while you're there, we're going to pay you a salary. So you're going to make $19.36 an hour while you're in the academy, plus full insurance benefits that any other employee at the sheriff's office would receive. And the best part of it is you have a guaranteed job waiting for you once you graduate and pass the state exam.
Oh, no. What's the exam like?
It's been a while since I've taken one. They talk about a lot about state statute, different criminal statutes, civil statutes, case law from the Supreme Court, just a run of the mill. It could be pretty much anything.
How about the academy? What's that like? I mean, what would you tell a new somebody who's applied? Like, how would you describe the academy to them?
The academy today is very similar to when I went through. It's very paramilitary, where you're wearing a uniform in the classroom. Like I said, it is extremely physical.
Yeah, you got to run. You got to do push-ups.
Every day you're going to be running no less than 1.5 miles at 14 minutes or less. And at least an hour of calisthenics, high rate, high cardio core exercises. And then you have an hour of defensive tactics afterwards.
Okay. So it's intense.
It is intense.
Yeah, you don't just sit in a classroom all day. It can be tough.
Yeah, you better be mentally prepared to handle a 10 and 12-hour day at the academy.
Because that's what's going to happen when you get to be an actual deputy.
Oh,
at 10,
absolutely.
12 hours. You're not running all the time, but you're running.
Right.
You got to be
There's a good chance you could have to run. I mean, just because you're wearing a badge and a gun doesn't mean people are going to listen and stop and do what they tell you to do.
Really?
So
it doesn't work like that.
It does not work that way.
So going back to, we were talking about some of the places out of state that you go. Do you get a lot of people that are interested in working here in Florida?
Absolutely.
Just
yes.
because of the sunshine and the taxes?
That probably has something to do with it. A lot of the states going north are removing their retirement systems for one reason or the other. I'm not quite sure why. And a big draw is Florida has really competitive wages when it comes to law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
So they're much higher than some other states. I mean, obviously, when you get up in the bigger cities like NYPD and Philadelphia, they may make a little bit more money. but the cost of living there is a lot greater than it is here in Florida.
Yeah, and I've talked to some deputies who used to be officers at NYPD, and they came down here, and they're deputies now, or they retired up there, and then they came down here and worked as well.
Right. We do get quite a few retirees from up north that do 20 years or 25 years, and they come down here. And it's not that you have to work patrol. We have courthouse positions too, where you could be a deputy inside the courthouse, and I wouldn't say it's any less dangerous than working out on the street, but
it's cooler.
It is a lot. It is a lot cooler. You have nights and weekends off, things of that nature.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. I talked to somebody at the courthouse that he was a cop up in New York, and he came down here, and now he works at the courthouse.
It's very appealing for maybe somebody that's a little bit older, retired, that may not have much left in the tank as far as a 21-year-old kid, but they still have something to offer that can, give back to the community and work in the courthouse for us.
What are some of the questions you get asked when you go to these job fairs from some of these potential deputies?
You name it, we've probably been asked. A lot of times, for whatever reason, most of the time it's about retirement. What's the retirement like? I mean, how long do I have to be a deputy? Oh, can I just go straight into being a detective?
The answer is no on that one, I think.
Yes, the answer is no.
I don't know much about this agency yet. I'm still learning, but I think the answer is no to that one.
Yeah, not going straight into detective work.
But so the retirement's a big draw.
It is.
Even for people that are like 20 years old, they're thinking about retiring.
Yeah.
Which is good, which is a good thing.
That's what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Most people live for right now, what's right in front of them. You should be looking 25, 30 years down the road. And do I need to continue to work, or can I set myself up nicely for when I do retire that I'm set?
Yeah, and I will say there's not a ton of careers left that you can work for 25, 30 years at the same place and then retire. I mean, I'm a former news reporter. I worked in news for a long time, and every few years you move around, or you get a job, or you get laid off from a job, and that's just the nature of the business in news. And a lot of jobs are like that nowadays. You just don't stick around for 10, 20, 30 years, but in law enforcement, you definitely can, because you're valued as you get older sometimes, and you sort of rise in the ranks, and you can do that if you work at places like this.
Correct, and that's the one thing that our agency provides. It's that stability. You're going to have a job, and then the movement. You can move around, so you don't have to spend 20 years in one position. There's no less than around 30 different opportunities, different positions that you can do as a deputy sheriff here. So it's really upon you if you think that you're getting bored in a position that you need to move on, because the opportunities are there for anybody for the taking.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of questions also? I'm sure people who want to be deputies, not everybody's perfect, we'll say that, and sometimes people have done things in their past, and obviously you can't do, there's certain things I'm sure you can't do and become a deputy, but you probably don't have to be a perfect person. You could have made some mistakes in your life and still be a deputy.
Yeah, I mean, we run into quite a few people that may have slight criminal histories.
Yes.
Maybe a DUI 10 years ago. It was one mistake.
People do stupid stuff.
Yeah, we've all done things that were stupid when we were children.
Except me and you. We're
perfect. We're perfect. And, it's we like to try to give second chances to people, depending on the crime. Obviously, you can't be a convicted felon.
No.
But depending on what the misdemeanor is, we're really shying away from domestic violence. It just doesn't look good as an agency.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse for it.
No.
So,
and we don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want that here at our agency. So it's, if you did something, maybe you stole something and got caught when you were a kid, something like that, we can probably forgive that. Or DUI, like we said, it depends.
Like you said, I think you said earlier, it's a case-by-case basis.
Is.
Yeah. And so you'll determine if it's still right for our agency.
Right. I mean, if it's within the last year or so, I would say you probably need to distance yourself from it for 2 or 3 years before you make an application, yes.
So we talked a little bit about going around the country to look for, or I don't want to say look for people, but go to events and job fairs. What do you do here locally?
we set up our own job fairs at least 4 or 5 times a year where the recruiting unit will do a job fair. We have one coming up at the end of the month. I can't remember the specific date, but I know it's at Full Sail University.
All right, we'll make sure it's in the
Yeah,
in the status of this podcast.
Yes. And then we go mainly to UCF quite often. UCF is a big proponent for the Orange County Sheriff's Office, so we're always out on campus talking to the kids, setting up a tent or a table out in the public, and having them walk up to us, and we explain to them about the Sheriff's Office. We go and talk to some of the criminal justice classes. We do a lot at Valencia. All the different campuses, we'll go talk to the criminal justice classes at Valencia. And at least once a month, there's some sort of a job fair here in the Orlando area, and we will go to every single one of them.
Yeah. Are you usually pretty well received when you go and people are pretty interested in wanting to work here?
Absolutely. The biggest thing that people don't realize is we have around 1,000 civilians who work for the Sheriff's Office.
I'm one of them.
And you are one of them. So a lot of people just assume, thinking about Orange County Sheriff's Office, it's just all deputies. But we have to have support personnel to support those deputies. So they're just shocked by the sheer number of civilian employees.
Oh,
that
yeah.
we do have.
I assume, I don't know who, I'm sure Disney has the most employees here in Central
absolutely.
Florida. But I'm sure we're up there in one of the larger organizations
I would
in Central
think
Florida.
so. Yeah, absolutely.
So when people ask to come work here, you send them to the website.
Yep.
And then they fill out that. And how long, from start to finish, how long does it take to apply, to go through training, and then you're on the road? What's usually the time frame there?
As long as the applicant is doing everything that we ask them to do, as far as getting all their paperwork that is required in on time, getting scheduled for certain tasks that they have to go through the hiring process. The hiring process alone is right around 4 months. So from application to getting hired is about 4 months.
Yeah, and like you said, there's background checks and voice stress analysis tests.
Yes, panel interviews. No longer a swim test, so that's a positive. We had a swim test for years. That is officially been gone for about 6 months now. So don't have to worry about a swim test. I
but if you can swim, it's a good thing.
Yes, yes.
We would love it, but you don't have to know how to swim.
Exactly. So from that, if you go to the academy, you get another 5 months, so now you're looking at 9 months. Then you have 9 weeks of basic recruit training. That's pretty much how I explain it is that's how Orange County Sheriff's Office does business. So we're going to teach you all the way that we do it, because every agency could do the same thing a different way. We just want all of our employees to be on the same page when they get on the street. So that's 9 weeks. So that's another, 2 months. And then you have to go through at least 14 weeks of field training. So that means you're riding with another deputy or a series of deputies for 14 weeks, that hands-on training in the car before you're out solo by yourself.
Okay.
So we're not throwing you to the wolves right out as soon as you finish the academy.
It's a good thing.
Yes. There's a lot of learning.
But it's a long process.
It is a long process.
You don't just get hired and you start. It's almost a year.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's other agencies here in Central Florida.
Yes.
Different departments, municipalities.
Absolutely.
Is there any sort of friendly rivalry between all of you guys trying to get deputies and officers?
There's always a friendly rivalry.
But this is the best agency to work at.
Absolutely. Orlando Police Department, the great agency, the second largest agency. There's over 900 cops. So 1,600, 900, great agency. Have a lot to offer. Then you have Apopka and Winter Park and Ocoee and Winter Garden. They're all great agencies, just smaller. Doesn't mean they don't provide as much service or anything to their communities. It's just it really depends on what the applicant is looking for. Some people want that small hometown feel where all the officers know each other. They know the chief and all this. Where you can come here and you could work on the opposite side of the county and not know anyone that works on the west side when you work on the east side.
Yeah.
It happens that way.
It's just like you said, it's such a large agency. Sometimes you don't know the people that are in other spots. So when you have somebody who's applying or even starting applying as a deputy, How do you sort of sell them on our agency over maybe some of these other smaller agencies here in Central Florida? What do you tell them that we have here that they don't have over there?
We sell on the diversity, the diversity in the actual people that work here, the different creeds and ethnic backgrounds and race and genders and all that. That's number one. B is the diversity in the different positions that you can do here. The ability to move around, whether it's move around the agency and experience different positions, whether it's criminal investigations, a fugitive unit going to the courthouse. Maybe you like riding horses. Maybe you want to ride in a helicopter.
Yeah.
Maybe you like boats, so you go do boats, or gang unit, narcotics unit. You name it, we probably have it. So that's the biggest thing that brings people to our agency. And then just the stability is such a great agency. It's all the things behind the scenes that most people don't know about our agency. The career developments where they go and they can, if you want to go to a certain position, they can lead you there. All the different programs and the benefits that we have that a lot of agencies don't have. There's a huge draw for our agency.
Yeah. Like you said, there's a lot of growth here, and there's a lot of opportunity that you don't have at smaller places.
A lot of upward mobility as well. So when you think it's time in your career that you want to start gaining some supervisory experience, that is certainly on the table.
So you've been doing this 2 years as a recruiter. So you've gotten to the point where you've maybe hired people, and now they're actual deputies on the road.
Oh, absolutely. That is the number one thing that drives me the most, is fulfilling people's dreams. When you have someone that comes to you and they're ecstatic just to be a cop, and then they chose your agency, and you get them through the process, and you oversee their hire and get them through the academy and through FTO, and they're out there solo by themselves, there's no better joy than that for me.
Is that your favorite part about this job?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd end up in recruiting.
I don't think I did ask you, how exactly did you end up here? Was there just an opening? They're like, Steve's good at this. We think he'd be great.
For me, it was about the reputation, getting the job done, being able to multitask, and talking to people, developing those relationships. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about for recruiting, is where you go up to a complete stranger, or a stranger comes up to you, and they put all their trust in you, and they believe in what you're telling them. So for me, it was just a friend of mine that had been in the unit previous said, "Hey, I think you should think about going into recruiting. I think you do a good job." For me, I was always in a position where it was a thrill of the hunt, where I'm out there looking for bad guys and taking people to jail. So this is something completely different that I never thought I would be interested in. And now I'm here. The only way I would leave if I got promoted out.
Okay. Do you miss doing the chasing bad guys?
I do. There's no doubt about it. That's in my blood, and I'll always be that way. It's just I'm in a different time in my career.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me about some of the other people that work, because it's not just you out there.
No, not at all.
There's a whole staff here that does this.
So there's 3 other field recruiters. So we have Angela Keller and Rick DeMarco, who is our military recruiter, and then our newest member is Leela Fries.
Okay, all right. And
Yes.
do you all specialize in separate things, or you all just sort of work together on everything?
We work together on most things. Leela specializes in minority recruitment, and Angela is more of a female recruiter, and obviously Rick is our military recruiter. And I specialize in a little bit of everything, more out of state than in-state folks, but I do work with quite a bit of sponsorships.
So talking about the minority recruitment, over the last 5-10 years, there's been some talk of and issues with police departments maybe not representing the communities they police, and not here. I'm not saying here, but nationwide.
Nationwide, yes.
So how do you do that here? I mean, how do you recruit minorities to make it so our department reflects our community?
It's a tough sell sometimes, because you get into certain segments of the community that have a strong distrust of the police.
Yeah.
So trying to bridge that gap, and the way we do it is, if you really want to make a change in your community, a positive change, come join us where you can get put back in your community. People know who you are. You have a good reputation in that community, so you can certainly help bridge that gap, because just because police are doing one thing in a different area of the country does not mean that's the way that we do it here in Florida or in Orange County.
Yeah, and I think I've seen some of the stats. The sheriff's office does pretty well when it comes to how we represent our community versus how our staff is represented here.
Absolutely. We that is something we strive for daily, as far as we try to reflect our diversity in the community.
Well, what's probably the biggest challenge you have when it comes to recruiting?
The biggest challenge that I see right now is just trying to get people to do this job, with the negative attention it gets every day in the media. Some deserving, but most of the time I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion, and that strong distrust for the police. Not so much here, but around the country. It's something that, and obviously we didn't get into this position to be rich. So you have to know that you're not going to be rich, and a lot of these kids are well educated. They're well educated, so is it worth them to put their life on the line every day? That's something that some people cannot grasp their head around. That is potentially you may not go home, and that's part of the job and the nature of the beast. So that's a hard sell for people.
And you had alluded to this earlier. You feel like this is sort of in your blood. Is that how it is for a lot of people that apply and become deputies? You feel like it's in their blood? I
think so. I think it's one of those things, deep down inside you, in the middle of your gut, that this is what you were born to do. And not to say that you have to have that, but it certainly helps that whatever it is. I can't explain it, but I know I was put on this planet for this reason. And, there's nothing I would do to tarnish this badge, because it means everything to me.
So let's say I'm somebody listening right now, and I want to be an Orange County deputy. What do I do? What can I do right now?
Contact a field recruiter. Just contact our field recruiter. All of our emails, phone numbers, pictures are on the website. If you're really interested in this position, contact our field recruiter. The easiest way is normally just through email. We're always answering emails. And then you can set up an appointment to come and meet with us, and then we can sit down and gauge where you stand and what desires you want, what you're looking for in an agency, making sure you're the right fit for us, and we're a right fit for you. That's what it starts. It's just developing that relationship. And then just if you feel like you don't have the time for that, just go directly onto the website and you can do an online application from there.
Awesome. So go to OCSO.com if you're interested and look for recruiting. And we need deputies. We need civilian staff. We need deputies. We're always interested. We're always hiring. So if you're interested, contact Sergeant Harrelson, and you can come and chat with them.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to Behind the Star. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Behind the Star. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Also, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, I'm John Busdecker, and this is Behind the Star.